Hello, everyone in the Ninja Nation. Thank you for joining us. This is Larry Kendall, and I'll be your host for today's webinar. We appreciate you joining us, and we've got a great turnout. We thank you for being with us, and hopefully you've had a chance to download your handouts. We did provide a handout for this webinar, and you can download those when you register, or if you haven't done that yet, this is an opportunity to do that. On your screen, there should be a button, some navigation there, and there's a button that says handouts. And so you can download those handouts and you'll be good to go. We have a very special guest with us today. Erik Hardy is a partner of mine here at the group and also the creator of the Ninja Planner. And Erik, I'm so delighted to have you on the webinar. Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Well, it's great. And you are a ninja. You've been practicing real estate for a while and have created the planner. And I want you to talk us through the planner. But before we do that, I'd like for everyone to get to know you. And so give us a little bit of your background.
Sure. Actually, I started with the group in April of 2009, which was a pretty exciting time to enter the real estate market.
Great timing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And prior to coming to work with the group, I was actually doing climate change research and invasive species research with the federal government here in Fort Collins. That's actually what inspired our move to Fort Collins. My wife, Christy, and I moved here in 2000 and just enjoy the Colorado lifestyle, everything outside that you can imagine doing, biking, cycling, paddleboarding, you name it. So
great. And you mentioned Christy. She's an amazing person. How long have you guys been married?
Yeah, I'm a very lucky guy. We've been married for almost 19 years now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And she's the co-creator of the Ninja Planner as well.
Great. Yeah, you guys have created a company called Monumental Living. You and Christy are the owners of that company, and you've produced the planner. If anybody has a question for Erik, you can see his email there. You may want to jot that down. And a lot of brain power here. Erik has 2 master's degrees, one in ecology, one is a Master of Business Administration. Christy is a doctor of veterinary medicine and is at Colorado State University. So a lot of brain power putting this together. And then, of course, you've had it beta tested with some ninjas. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of collaboration went into this. Obviously, we created this or came up with this idea, but then the input from you and Lauren and all the other ninja instructors. And then that you mentioned beta testing, a lot of groupies and a lot of folks out there had a lot into this. So it's kind of a huge collaboration that ended up with what you see there in front of you, that 2018 Ninja Planner.
Great. So what we'd like to do in this lesson is, number one, I'm going to spend a little bit of time going through some of the science behind why a planner is important and how it works. And then Erik is going to walk us through pretty much page by page, the planner itself and show you how to use it. So this all starts with goal setting and achieving goals. And that's the purpose of what we're going to talk about is how to help you achieve your goals. What I notice is salespeople especially are really good goal setters. They have goals. I think a lot of us are attracted into real estate because we can be independent. We're self-employed. We can set goals. There's no upper limit really. And so the goal setting is a very important part of this. And but achieving the goals, that is the part that we want to focus on today. So we can set the goals, but it's more fun if we achieve them. And we have found that the key to achieving your goals is your habits. F.M. Alexander says people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. I think you could also say people do not decide their goals, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their goals or their achievement of those goals. One of the goals we have for Ninja Selling is to help you increase your income per hour so that you can have a life. And I think as you go through this, Erik will point out how having this planner helps organize your life and your business in such a way that you do have more time if you follow what we're going to teach you and you follow and use the planner. I'm often asked about ninja training, and I say, well, we do provide ninja training, but our real product isn't training, it's results. We want ninjas to get results in their life. And so that's our focus. And what we want to share with you is some of the science behind achieving your goals. And I was introduced a couple of years ago to a book called F.O.R.D. The 4DX stands for the 4 Disciplines of Execution. Highly recommend that you pick up this book. It is very ninja. And when I first read it, it was interesting. We started our real estate company in 1976, started really perfecting ways to get results, get high income per hour. Finally taught the first ninja class in 1994. So we've been teaching ninja now for almost a quarter of a century. The F.O.R.D. book came out in 2012, and I remember when I read that book, I thought, oh my, if this book had been out, back in 1976, it would have saved us about 25 years of trial and error and research and experimentation in our laboratory called the Group Real Estate Company. I wish I'd have had this then, but we didn't, and so we both kind of came to the same conclusions in ninja selling. We got there through trial and error and experimentation. F.O.R.D. I'm not sure how they got there, but they're there. And so ninja selling and F.O.R.D. are very, very complementary. And so I want to walk you through the 4 disciplines of execution. The first discipline is to focus on your wig. And we put this in here for humor. It's not that kind of a wig. WIG stands for your wildly important goals. So as we talked earlier, this is about achieving goals. We all have these goals. But what we want to do is focus on the wildly important goals. And, in your list of goals, you need to focus on the ones that are the really big ones, the ones that are the battles that will win the war. And we believe that many times your income is one of those. We recommend that you focus on just 1 or 2 at a time. You can have more goals than that, but you need to, as far as the WIGs or the wildly important goals, you should have just 1 or 2. We'd recommend maybe one of them be a business or financial goal, and the other one can be a personal goal. And they need to be goals that are big enough that if you win that battle, you'll win the war. Or if you don't, you're going to be in trouble. So for most of us, unless we're independently wealthy, certainly income is a very important WIG. And if you went 6 months without income, most of us would be in trouble. So that's got to be one for most of us. And then you can have another one. Maybe that's a personal goal. And your WIGs need to be measurable. So we need to be able to answer the question, how will we know when we've succeeded? And so having measurable goals, very, very important. And here's an aha that when I read the F.O.R.D. book, I realized that WIGs are what's known as a lag measure. So lag measures, they track the wildly important goals. And an example would be income is a lag measure. Number of listings is a lag measure. And what do we mean by lag measure? Well, the performance that drove them is in the past. In other words, at the end of the year, we know if we made our goal or not, but the performance that drove that income or the performance that drove those listings is in the past. It's now too late to do anything about it. By the time you get to the WIG, you can't fix it. So it is what it is. You either made the goal or you didn't make the goal. And I had never thought of it this way. I kind of knew that, but hadn't really thought of it. And so really what we need to do if we want to achieve our goals is focus on what's called the lead measures. So what is the lead measures? Well, a good way to look at lead measures is they're what drives the lag measures. So what is the activities, what are the lead measures that will drive my financial goal, for example? What is the cause that generates the effect? What are the activities that I need to engage in that will move me towards my financial goals? And we have a saying, if you focus on your lead measures, the lag measures will take care of themselves. So really, this is a big aha. I don't think a lot of people realize this. They're really good on the lag measures and measuring them and tracking them, but not so good necessarily at looking at at what are the lead measures that are going to drive those. So that's the key here in discipline number 2 is identifying what those lead measures are. In Ninja, we believe the best lead measures are the Ninja 9. Now, we developed this over a period of decades, really, of identifying what were the most critical things that you could do that would drive your business. And we came up with these 5 daily and 4 weekly habits. We call them the Ninja 9. And we have, quite a few ninjas on this call, and you're familiar with the Ninja 9, but we have some folks that may not be familiar with Ninja, or they may not be familiar with the Ninja 9. So I'm going to summarize these 5 daily and 4 weekly habits. The 5 daily habits, we would recommend that you do them first thing in the morning, and we would, we believe you can basically do these in about 15 minutes. So it's not a big time commitment. We're asking you to devote 15 minutes each morning to these 5 daily habits. Obviously, the first one there is to give thanks, to start with your gratitudes. Gratitude is a very powerful energy, and what it does is it transforms your personal energy, puts you into what we call the high positive energy quadrant. It gets you ready for the day. You want to get your, as we say, your ninja on, or your vibe on. You want to get that positive energy going, and gratitudes will do that. The second thing you want to do is write your affirmations and get those done. It's kind of like your mental push-ups. You want to get those affirmations done early in the day. Then what you do is you sit down and write 2 personal notes. There's a lot of research that shows that the most powerful thing you can send to another person is a personal note. So write 2 personal notes. You can write more if you want to, but do at least 2. Number 3 then is show up for work and stay on your agenda. So one of the biggest traps that you can step in here is checking your email or opening your phone. We would recommend that you stop doing that you do the 5 daily habits first, because when you open your phone or you look at your email, what happens? Suddenly you're on somebody else's agenda, and you're off track. So the 5 daily habits only takes 15 minutes. So the emails can wait 15 minutes. Do this first, and then you can open up that email and see what's there. Number 4 is to focus on your hot list. And your hot list is a list of people that want to buy or sell, and they know they want to buy or sell, and they want to buy or sell within the next 90 days. When you open that hot list, we would recommend that you ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1 is, who's ready to go? Who wants to write a contract this week? Where should I be spending my time this week? The second question is, what would be the next step these folks need to take in the advancing to sale? So maybe they're a buyer and they need to see a lender. They haven't done that step yet. So that would be this week, try to get them in to see the lender. Then number 5 would be to focus on your warm list. And now this is a list of folks who, because of their life changes, they may want to buy or sell this year. So it's on an annual basis. In the next 12 months, they might be ready to do something. So this is the 5 daily habits. Takes about 15 minutes. The other thing on habit number 3 I didn't mention is you may want to time block your calendars. And we're going to talk about time blocking a little bit later, and that's where the planner comes into play. But you want to organize your week, stay on your agenda, and do your time blocking. The 4 weekly habits, we would recommend you time block some time, probably 2 hours at least, sometime this week to do your customer service calls and the other items here on the 4 weekly habits. So you'll start with your customer service calls, calling all your sellers, calling all your buyers, calling all your under contract buyers, giving them updates, calling the people who've referred you business to thank them for the referrals, calling to wish your customers happy birthday or happy anniversary. Once you've done that, then you need to schedule 2 live real estate reviews this week. Now, you may do more than 2 real estate reviews, but you want to do at least 2 of them live. Some of them, the folks can't meet with you, so you'll mail them out. But a real estate review is a simple market update for them on their real estate. Number 8 is your 50 live interviews a week. You need to find a way to be live, face-to-face or voice-to-voice with 50 people per week. Now, the customer service calls and the real estate reviews count in that. So if you've got 4 sellers and you've called them, that counts as 4. You've got 2 under contract buyers, that counts as 2. You got 4 active buyers, that counts as 4. You have somebody who referred you business and you call them, that counts. If you have an open house and 7 people come through, that counts. If you're at the game and you see 2 or 3 of your friends, that counts. So it's very easy to get your 50 live interviews per week. But that's part of your goal. And what we find is that that will drive your business. And then number 9 is you want to have a set time each week when you update your database, when you take your all those scraps of paper and sticky notes and business cards and load them into your database, load them into your CRM, your customer relationship manager, to make sure that this week, if you need to get a hold of somebody, you're not scratching around looking for a scrap of paper. And we have found that this Ninja 9, these are your best lead measures. And Erik, I know that you're very disciplined in your Ninja 9. Part of that led to the planner. Anything you want to say about the impact of Ninja 9 on your business?
No, I think when I actually really focused on doing the Ninja 9, implementing them and tracking them this way, actually in one of the beta versions of this, I actually saw my business almost doubled just based on using this planner.
Is that right?
It was, yeah.
Wow.
Just because I was focused on doing those and holding myself accountable for that.
That's not unusual to see somebody, even who already is playing at a pretty high level, if they weren't doing the Ninja 9 or weren't doing it consistently, they start doing it, and it's not unusual to see their income double or more than double. What's interesting about Ninja 9, it's very predictive. You just mentioned you started being more disciplined and you watched your business double. It's also influenceable. You have a choice over whether you do this or don't do it, so you can influence it. It's very user-friendly. We're not asking anybody to do anything hard here. We're not saying, go out and knock on doors or telemarket. This is a very easy, user-friendly system, and it's a very high return on your investment of time and money. Again, we're not recommending that you go out and spend thousands of dollars a month buying internet leads or do anything that really it requires a high investment of time or money. So the Ninja 9 is very easy, very user-friendly, and it's your most powerful lead measure. Joseph Penta, who's one of my other partners here at the group, he's the one who gave me the 4DX book. And he said, "Hey, Larry, I want you to read this book. It's very ninja," and it is. And what Joseph said to me was, he says, the genius behind Ninja is that it documents the lead measures. Now, we never thought of them as lead measures until I read the book, but that's basically what the Ninja 9 is. It documents the lead measures. And so we've got 2 of the 4 steps of, or the 4 disciplines of the 4DX formula put together. Number 1, have wildly important goals. Number 2, know what the lead measures are that will drive those goals. Number 3 discipline is to keep a scoreboard. And this scoreboard isn't to track the lag measures. It isn't to track the goal. It's to track the lead measures. I was at a conference recently with owners of companies, and they were sharing with each other they call it metrics that they're tracking. They're tracking profit, they're tracking gross commission income, they're tracking market share. They have all these tracking methods, and I pointed out to them, well, that's great, but those are all lag measures. What are the lead measures that are going to drive that? And then I talked to them in terms of the Ninja 9 for sales associates, and so can we create then the lead measures for a company? We know that the Ninja 9 is our best lead measure, and so we need a scoreboard to keep track of what we're doing. And part of that is what we call forwarding and recording. Now, the ninjas obviously know what F.O.R.D is. For those of you that may not be familiar with Ninja, the F.O.R.D stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And what we know is if there's a change in any of those 4 areas, it's going to probably affect somebody's real estate, because those are the 4 core areas of most people's lives. Is there anything more important to somebody than their family or their career or what they do for fun or what, their hopes and their dreams? And so what we've done here and what Erik's done is create a way for us to keep track of this in the planner. So what we call forward and record. And just like at a game, you see a scoreboard here, you need to be able to have something that you can look at and immediately tell where you are on your lead measures. The reason this is important, Frederick Herzberg, who's considered the father of modern human motivation, says that in his research that all forms of human motivation, the one that's the most effective is the one that shows progress. So if you are tracking your lead measures, if you're documenting them, it will keep you motivated to keep doing it. It'll keep you on track. And that really brings us now to the Ninja Planner and the evolution of this planner. It was developed by Erik. Along the way, you brought some other people in to help you. But before we open this planner and jump into it, anything you want to say about the evolution of how we got to this point?
No, I think the Ninja Planner obviously came about from lots of input from lots of different people. But really, what it kind of originated in my mind was that I was using a traditional kind of day planner from a time management standpoint, and that was helping me to really keep track of my time and do a little better job of time blocking. But then when I was actually trying to track all of my Ninja 9, I had different bits of paper floating around and kind of, tracking measurements here and over there, and I didn't have it all in one place. And I guess my non-conscious brain was really working on that problem, not having everything together, because one morning I was actually doing a meditation, and kind of the idea for the Ninja Planner just popped into my head. From that, kind of fully formed, and then the next day I met with our friend Ann Vetter, who's a graphic designer, and she, started putting this design on paper, and obviously with lots of input from you and Lauren and the Ninja instructors and everyone else out there, some groupies, we came to this.
Well, I know in the back of my mind, I'd always thought about something like this, because when I sit down and interview top producers and trying to figure out what it is that's driving their business and what's helping them to be successful, virtually every one of them carries a notebook. Tammy Spalding, who's one of the top brokers in the country, who's a partner in our company, she says, she calls it her brain. She grabs her book and she says, "This is my brain." I said, "Well, let me look at your brain." And when I opened it up and looked at it, I could see what she was doing. And then when Erik came along with the planner, pretty much you've documented some of the same things that she's doing. Getting into the 4 disciplines of execution, and in particular, discipline number 3, talks about the importance of a compelling scoreboard, and that's what the Ninja Planner does. It does a lot more than that, but what I like about it is it provides that scoreboard. Here's an example from the planner, and here's an example of what it looks like when it's filled out. And this is what we call a scoreboard. This is what it looks like on the forward and record pages, where you can make notes of who you talked to, what you discussed, and so on. And so we're going to get into more detail on this here in just a few minutes. Erik's going to walk us through it. But before we do that, I think it'd be good to talk about why a paper planner. And Erik, any thoughts on that?
The paper planner really came about because I found myself trying to use things and do things on my phone and my computer and bouncing back and forth. And what I realized is, they're amazing tools, but the problem is they're also great, amazing sources of distraction. So, I would go to start on my next task, and all of a sudden there'd be a pop-up notification or a message or something like that. And I would just get sucked down that rabbit hole and get pulled right off my agenda. And, then eventually forget why I even started the process in the first place. So I think the paper planner, it's really aimed at eliminating that distraction of the phone and the computer.
Beautiful. Well, I think we've kind of summarized 2 major reasons to use a paper planner. One of them Erik talked about. We'll come back to that. The other one is I had a ninja tell me one time that, because it was a top producer, they had a notebook, and I said, "Well, why don't you have all this in your phone or in your computer?" And they said, "Well, using my computer or using my phone is kind of like driving down the road at 80 miles an hour in my car with the windshield iced over. And for me to access a part of the windshield, it's kind of like I go to my computer and I can pull up this part or I can pull up that part. But what I need is the ability to look at the whole thing down the road. I need the big picture perspective." And so as most of you can tell this is a picture of Machu Picchu, and I snapped this picture when Pat and I 2 years ago hiked the Inca Trail. We came through what's called the Sun Gate, and you look down, and we were fortunate we had just a beautiful day that day, and I snapped that picture. But which is more powerful, this or this? And I think that's what the paper planner does. It gives you that scoreboard all at once, and you can see where you are. And then, of course, as Erik mentioned, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. If it's stored in your phone, you don't see it. It's out of sight, out of mind. And then to access it, all at once, you're accessing the world, and the world is accessing you. And one of the things that I would recommend that you consider in this area is if you're using your phone as an alarm in the morning, that can be problematic, because when your phone goes off, you immediately grab it to turn off the alarm, and now what do you have in your hand? You have your phone, and it's very easy to you notice those texts or those emails or the notifications, and all at once you start with that. And we want you to start with your Ninja 5. So I would recommend that you consider buying an inexpensive alarm clock. Don't use your phone as an alarm. Don't pick it up first thing in the morning. Instead, do your Ninja 5. I have some good friends that are very techy, have actually started wearing watches again, because they were using their phone to tell the time. And they noticed every time that they went to check the time, boom, there's a notification. Oh, I better check that. They get sucked into it. So I realize you may think we're a little bit old school here with a paper planner, but there's a couple of reasons for it. One is a big picture, out of sight, out of mind, and avoid the distractions. So Robin Sharma, who's an amazing international business coach, he puts it this way: the enemy of mastery is not mediocrity, it is distractions. And the addiction, he calls it an addiction to distractions, ruins many potentially awesome lives. And so we need to find a way to stay focused, and clearly the planner will do that. The distraction is sometimes called the whirlwind. In the 4DX book, they talk about the whirlwind. Erik, I know you're talking about the whirlwind. Tell us, what is the whirlwind?
The whirlwind are all those tasks that come up in our daily lives that if you kind of let them, they're all the things that we need to get done, but they will just kind of set your agenda for you. So there are going to be those things out there in the whirlwind that you need to deal with. But the idea, especially with 4DX and setting wigs and that type of thing and your lead measures, is that you tame this whirlwind by really setting your goals, knowing what you need to accomplish, setting the time aside to make sure that those get done throughout your day, and then dealing with the whirlwind and all of those routine things that come up after you've time blocked and taken care of the things that you need to do.
Great. Well, let's do this. Let's summarize why to use the Ninja Planner, and then we'll open it up and walk through it. Number one, what we know is if you focus on productive activities, the production takes care of itself. In other words, focus on the lead measures, and the lag measures, your goals, will take care of themselves. Number two, you need a compelling scoreboard of those lead measures, of those productive activities. You need to be able to track your Ninja 9 and know how you're doing. So you need a compelling scoreboard to help you do that. Number three, you need to focus on what you need to be doing and avoid the distractions. So the planner helps keep you focused. Number four, it provides a self-accountability. You either do it or you don't. You can look on your scoreboard. You can see, am I doing my Ninja 9? Am I not? Am I writing my notes? Am I doing my real estate reviews? Am I in flow with 50 people per week live? Or am I not? And so you don't have to have a coach or somebody looking over your shoulder to tell you that. You can just look at yourself and your planner, and you can immediately tell how you're doing. Now, if you're a manager or a coach, I love the planner, because if somebody is in a sales slump and I'm trying to help them, first thing I'll say is, let me see your planner. Let me see your activities. I can tell by your activities or lack of activity that may be the problem. And then we can see in specifically what area. Let's see your hot list. Let's see your warm list. Let's see your Ninja 9 activities. And so it's really a great way to help somebody get back on track if they're in a sales slump. With that, I'd like to talk a little bit about Monumental Living and this website, we would encourage you to go to monumentalliving.com. Erik has put together some amazing videos there, training videos. There's really 3 of them. They're very short. One's about 1.5 minutes. The second one's about 2.5 minutes, and the longest one is around 5 minutes. So you can go and watch all of those videos in less than 10 minutes and really understand how to use the planner and how the planner can work for you. So with that, what we're going to do is, instead of watching the videos, we've got Erik here live. So he's going to basically go through the training with us on these. And Erik, is there anything you want to say about your website before we get started?
No, I think the main thing, it is there as a resource. We're going to continue as we get feedback and continue to develop materials. We'll be updating that and put some additional videos and some additional blog content and things like that on there. So do feel free to save that website and check back there periodically for new content and new ideas.
And also for those who are watching this, trying to decide if the planner is for them, if they watch those videos or watch this webinar and decide it is, they can order the planner from that website. That's where you get the planner. So, and I know we have some owners and managers here that have ordered planners for everybody in their offices. You can order those right there on monumentalliving.com. So so somebody orders a video or orders a planner. The first thing that comes is this planner comes in a box.
Right.
Tell us about the box.
Yeah, exactly. This kind of shows what you get with the Ninja Planner. And obviously you get a planner, and then you can see there on the right-hand side of the screen, there is the 2 adhesive pockets. And those pockets, they're really designed to be stuck into either the front or back cover of the planner or both. And they're designed to hold an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. If you fold that sheet of paper in half, they fit perfectly into those pockets. And what this allows you to do is customize your planner and include those things. For example, some folks use the Ninja Business Tracker. Maybe you do that electronically, and then you can just print out your business tracker and carry that with you in that pocket. Another great thing, I know we've talked about electronic calendars, but obviously we're not saying you shouldn't use an electronic calendar ever. Maybe you're on a team or something, we have to have a shared calendar. But you can use this, print out a copy of your calendar, and carry it with you in the planner as well as a reference. So that's what those 2 pockets are there for, to really allow you to customize things. And at the top, you see a series of, those are 6 tabs, and they're reusable plastic tabs. In the colored portion of the tab, you can write in those with a ballpoint pen or with a Sharpie. And this is where you would label different things for kind of quick reference tabs that you want to flip to specific pages in the planner. For example, I recommend having one labeled weekly. And what you do is you stick that on whatever weekly view that you're on, and then you can quickly turn to your week and see that. And then when it's the time for the next week, you can just peel it right up, move it to the next week, and stick it on. Also recommend using one, you can do one on your monthly view, and then another great spot for a tab is on your 2018 calendar view, or your year at a glance, which is included in the planner. And that's a great place to use with the dialogue about getting to where you want to go on time. That calendar works really well, and I know we were just recently in a Ninja installation where that was used, and we got some good feedback.
Yeah, you bet. If you're in your buyer counseling interview and you're using the 10-step buyer counseling interview, I think it's step number 4, which is where your buyer, in this particular case, they were it's in the seller process rather than the buyer process. And step number 4 in the seller process, where they're moving and they're going to another, in this case, they were being transferred, and they had a certain time that they had to start work there. So in step number 4, you help them become clear on what it's going to take to keep them on schedule. And so we started with when they were going to start work in the new city, started working our way back as to when we need a contract on their house, because typically a buyer is going to get financing, and so it takes some time. And then we work back to today, what needs to happen, and it's really a great way to problem solve together, to build connection with your seller, and actually work through that process together and come up with a schedule. And the planner is a great way to do that, because you have these 2 yearly calendars in there. So you've got one for your own use to fill out for your schedules and so on. But you have this other one, blank one, that you can use then in that counseling with the seller. And we had a ninja installation last week. We had 96 ninjas in the room, and they all received as part of the installation the planner. They were quite excited. It was really great. They had a chance to see how they could use that with a seller, and it worked out really super. I might mention also these tabs. That was and the little pockets. Those were additions that were recommended by ninjas when we did the beta test with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe it was Beth Bishop, ninja here, and she recommended the adhesive pockets, and then just looking at different people had recommended tabs, and they really do work quite well.
So it's a great enhancement to the planner. And when you open up your box, make sure that you look for those pockets and the tabs. So then let's go inside. We have this F.O.R.D and record. Tell us about that.
Sure. This F.O.R.D and record page really pairs with the weekly view as well. But here we've talked about the importance of the F.O.R.D and record in the Ninja process. And this is the spot for those 50 live interactions per week. This is a place where you can write down who you had that interaction with. You can talk about what you learned during that interaction. And then if that interaction came up, brought up an action item or something you need to follow up with that person on, you'll see that there's a column there for that. And then also a checkbox to track when you've done that and have taken care of that action item. So for example, if you're talking to someone and they mention, oh, got a new job and it looks like we're going to be moving, that should be an action item that you would write down that, okay, I'm going to make note of that. I'm going to know I need to follow up with them and just kind of make a plan from there.
And you have these F.O.R.D and record pages set up for every week.
Right, exactly.
So you can archive. I mean, you can keep them right there. If you need to, I remember I talked to somebody 2 weeks ago, and I need to flip back and refer to that conversation, or I need to flip back because I remember they gave me a phone number or an email number or an address or something. You have all that right there.
Yeah, and as you mentioned before too, this is a great place when you're sitting down and updating your database every week. This is a great place to refer back to and make sure you're capturing all that information in your database.
Yeah, this has worked great for me because I used to capture phone numbers, thoughts on just whatever scrap of paper. I had a big pile of papers, and I was losing them and stuff. And this has really cleaned up that for me because now it's all right here on these F.O.R.D and record pages. It works out really super. Well, let's take a look at the monthly view, and Erik's going to walk us through kind of the what's on here. So I'll use the pointer, and you can describe it.
Sure. So we can start in the upper left-hand corner there. You'll see we have a spot for the affirmation for the month. We know the science shows that it takes about 30 days for an affirmation to start to reprogram your non-conscious and really get put into place there. So this is where you're going to record your affirmation for the month, and then you can obviously write it somewhere else. The next below there, you'll see we have some different areas for you to concentrate in other aspects of your life as well. So you can set goals for family and relationships, your health. We know the importance of your physical health and how that affects your business and just your life as a whole. So maybe you want to set some health goals here for the month. There's a spot to focus on your personal growth. And an example may be you set a goal of reading a book per month. You can jot that down here and keep track of it. You can focus on your finances and your personal wealth building just to be able to check in and see what you want to do for that month. Then we've also included a spot that you can write down another goal for any area of your life that works for you. Then if we go over to the right-hand side of the page, you'll see we have a spot to underneath Ninja Tracker. We have a spot to schedule 3 mailings. And we know in Ninja, as part of the flow system, we need to send out 3 mailings per month to our sphere. So here's the spot where we can write down what those 3 mailings are going to be. And then you can see with everything that's kind of a task, we include a checkbox so you can quickly at a glance know whether you've done that item or not. So you write down your 3 mailings here, and then you immediately have your monthly view of your calendar to be able to go ahead and write those on your calendar which day you're going to send those out. Speaking of monthly view, you can see the full monthly view here. This is kind of your quick overview of your month. So you can time block if you're going to be taking any trips, or you already have appointments, or maybe you're going to workshops or conferences. You can block out your calendar here, and then at a quick glance, you can kind of know how your month is going to flow. Down below that section, you'll see we have a spot in the gray boxes for what's working and also what should I change. It's really important every month to take a look at the different things in your business and your life that are working. Make note of what's working so you can continue to do those and focus on those and maybe even expand those. And also take a look at what might not be working and think about ways to make changes there. I know some people create a stop doing list based on what's not working. So this is just a place for you to take note of that. And then I'd also mention over at the far right, we have a spot for action items. Now this list of action items refers to what you need to get done during that particular month. So right now, for example, it's March. Taxes are a big thing for a lot of us during this month. So maybe one of your monthly items is to be sure you get your taxes done. So you would just write that on there for your monthly view, and then you can check it off when it's done.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's then go to my favorite, which is the weekly view. And this one here is your compelling scoreboard.
Yeah.
This has your Ninja 9 on it. So walk us through that.
Sure, absolutely. As Larry mentioned, being able to see your full picture all at once in one particular place is really key. And that this was designed with being able to see your full Ninja 9 all in one place at a glance. If we start in the upper left-hand corner, we start with that Ninja morning routine with the gratitude, positive readings, and affirmations. And of course, that's really designed to put you in that positive mind space and positive energy space that's going to allow you to kick your day off right and carry that throughout your day. One thing we have in there, positive readings, that that can be something that's inspirational to you, or a great thing to read every morning is Mastery. Mastery is on the back cover of the Ninja Planner, so you always have that with you. You can read that and get inspired in that positive mindset. Below there, we'll see the other things that we need to take care of on a daily basis. Those include reviewing your hot list, reviewing your warm list. We've included exercise in here just because getting some kind of physical activity every day increases your energy level and your positivity level. So that's important. And then we've given space for other things that you may want to personally track throughout your day to make sure that you accomplish each day. For example, for me, meditation is one that I put there. It could be as simple to make sure you drink plenty of water each day, or you name it, but there's space there for you to customize that. Now we get into the weekly routines portion. And as we mentioned, that those 50 live flow interactions, so that's either face-to-face or voice-to-voice. Here you can see this is the quick view tracker where you can just check off if as you do them. But remember, this is paired with that F.O.R.D and record sheet that follows every week. So again, every week you have this sheet, and then you also have the F.O.R.D and record section. So you can go in more detail on your F.O.R.D and record pages. Below that, we have a spot for you to track, making sure you update your database every week. And then you want to review your weekly goals, your monthly goals, and your yearly goals to make sure you're on task with those. There's a spot here for reviewing your Pi time. Now at the bottom of the page, we also have a Pi time tracker total. And this is where you break down your Pi time for the week. I know we've had some questions before about Pi time. So do you want to talk about Pi time?
You bet. And if you want a full description of PIE time, I would encourage you to read the Ninja Selling book. There's a section in there on Pi time. Also, we cover it in the Ninja installation. If you have your Ninja Selling book handy, it's on pages 165 through 170. Those 5 pages describe Pi time. But the goal of Ninja Selling is to help you increase your income per hour so that you can have a life. And to do that, you really need to know where you're spending your time, where you're investing your time. All of us have the same amount of time. And so we have quite a few ninjas that are earning well over $1 million a year, and they're doing it by working 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week. And obviously there's a secret to how they're able to do that, and it's because they are spending more of their life in P and I time and not as much in E time. So the P time stands for productive time, and the definition of productive time is there's 3 ingredients. There's you, there's a contract, and there's a client. So if you're listing a house, you're in productive time. If you're presenting a contract or negotiating a contract or writing a contract, that's productive time. That is your highest value time. And the more time you spend in productive time, the more income you'll make per hour. The I time is indirectly productive time. I time basically is your lead measures. It's I time that drives P time. Your Ninja 9 would be an example of indirectly productive time. When you're writing notes, when you're doing real estate reviews, when you're in your live flow with your 50 per week, all of that is what drives productive time. So the more hours you have of I time, the more hours you'll have of P time. And then we have everything else. all the everything else many times can be the whirlwind. It's all the distractions, it's the meetings, it's the emails, it's all the stuff that has to get done, the paperwork, but some of it doesn't have to get done. Some of it is just a waste. And we need to really reduce the E time and increase the P and I time if we want to increase our income per hour. That is the key. And the way to do that is to do some simple tracking. So what we would recommend that you do is don't try to track the E time. Instead, track three things. Number one, when did I come to work and when did I leave? So in other words, how many hours did I work today? And then track your P and your I. So did I show houses today? Yes, I did. I showed houses for 2 hours. So that would count as 2 hours of P time. I also presented a contract that took an hour. So I had 3 hours of productive time today. And then I also did a real estate review that took an hour. So I was in an hour of I time. So I had 4 hours today of P and I. So if I worked, let's say 8 hours, I must have had 4 hours of E. And I would just make a note of that at the bottom of each of these columns on your weekly view. And then I would just add them up and fill them in then down here on the left-hand side in the gray portion for your weekly total. Again, the most important ones to watch for are P and I. Pretty much everything else falls into the E category.
Yeah, and actually doing that can really be eye-opening. I know when I did that for the first couple of weeks, I was amazed at how much time I was spending on everything else when I thought I was actually being really productive. A lot of time can fall into that E category and creep away from you. So carrying on now, you'll see you also have a spot to review your life list, and it's really important you do that every week because that life list is kind of your why. I mean, that you're putting in all this hard work. You could obviously be passionate about real estate, but it's also to make a living and earn money so you can do these bucket list, life list adventures. So focus on those. Next, you'll see we have a spot for real estate reviews, and this is for 2 real estate reviews, and you can see there whether you mailed it or you did it in person. We have a spot here for 2 because that's kind of the minimum recommendation, but I know a lot of ninjas are having tremendous success with doing lots of real estate reviews or way more than 2, so don't let this limit you. By all means, do as many real estate reviews as you would like to every week, but at least 2. Now, if we look at the center portion of the weekly view, and we'll start with just the daily view here. Every day starts with a spot for our 2 personal notes, so we can mark there who we wrote them to. And then below that, you'll see action items today. And these action items are things that need to happen this particular day or are of a sense of urgency and need to happen quickly, as opposed to like a monthly action item. So we have a spot for 10 of those there. And then below that, you'll see we have the daily kind of time breakdown from 8 to 5. Now, obviously, we know a lot of real estate brokers and ninjas work far outside that 8 to 5 time frame. So we've included a line before and a line at the end of the day where you can, write in your own appointments, set your own times for those things so you can keep track of that. Then finally, moving over to the right-hand side of the page, you'll see we have action items in a gray box, and these are action items that need to happen this particular week. So they don't need to happen on a specific day, but I just want to make sure by the end of the week I've taken care of these things. Or they can also be things, one thing that Chrissy and I do that's really effective, we sit down on Sunday evenings and just take 10 minutes or so to compare our planners for the upcoming week. And this can be a spot to use too, to jot down your action items that you need to take care of that you may want to then go back and schedule on a particular day. So that's there. And then also one thing this week. This one thing this week is the one thing that if you accomplish this week will either really move your business or your life forward. And it's something that without a doubt that you want to get it done that week so you can keep track of that and keep that at top of mind awareness.
Erik, when I look at this, this action items on the right-hand side, which for me is basically a to-do list for this week, what I'll do is start there and then I'll chunk it. And you can start to assign days for some of these. And then I would recommend that when you make your to-do list that you also kind of out to the side do a little estimate of how much time that would take. Maybe it's a 10-minute item because it's just a phone call that you need to make, or maybe it's an hour or 2 because it's a project that takes more time. Maybe it's a real estate review or something like that. But then where I think, a lot of people, what would help them, they're really good at setting goals and really good at to-do lists. But what I find really helps me is if I schedule my to-do list. So I would then come over here on my calendar and actually time block a time to do that market analysis, to do that real estate review, to write that report or write that letter, or to make those time block my Ninja 6 through 9 steps, my customer service calls. Actually block out your calendar, and you're more likely then to do it, and you won't let the whirlwind get into your life and suck time away from you if you have that time block.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the power of being able to do that time blocking is to, at a glance, know when you've scheduled to do some things, and then also be able to, in conversation, a classic thing would have to me is, someone would call and ask, hey, when can we see that house, or they want to set up an appointment, and you're trying to look in your phone at your calendar at the same time, and it just doesn't work. Whereas if you can at a glance look at this and already have time scheduled in where, I've set aside, I know this particular afternoon I've set out 2 hours for showings, or I've done something, then you can just fit people right into your schedule that you already have blocked out. And I think that's a very powerful aspect of having this weekly view.
There's a story in the F.O.R.D book about a football game, and that just visualize 50, 60, 70,000 people in the stands. You've got the players down on the field, you've got the coaches on the sidelines. All of these people are really fully engaged in this game, and there's a scoreboard in the stadium that you can look up at a glance, and you can see who's the score, who's winning the game. You can tell what quarter you're in, how much time is left, what down it is, where the ball is, how many yards to go. I mean, at a glance, everybody in that stadium can tell what's going on. That's their compelling scoreboard. That's what this weekly view does for you. And can you imagine if you went to a football game and there was no scoreboard? And can you imagine the chaos of what might be going on down on the field with the players and with the coaches and even in the stands? If to figure out what was going on in the field, you had to be accessing your phone and scrolling around trying to find the time left, or what, is this second down or is this third down? It would be crazy. And so, yes, you could do it on a phone, but you know what? It's so much easier and so much more powerful if you have this compelling scoreboard. And that's what we have with this weekly view. To me, this is the most powerful thing about the planner. The other thing that's powerful about it is you've got everything in one spot. And for me, I had a lot of papers that I was dragging around, and it's helped organize all of that. So it's great. And let's finish up here with the fourth discipline of execution, which is what they call a cadence of responsibility, or actually in the book it's called cadence of accountability. You can use either term. I like the term responsibility because I like to be responsible for myself, for my actions, and how I invest my time. And I can immediately look at the planner and see if I'm on track or if I'm not on track, and I can take responsibility for that. We have the drummers here because they want you to get into a rhythm or in a cadence, a pattern, if you will, of having a weekly meeting with yourself where you set up a time once a week to review your scorecard. How am I doing? What worked last week? What can I improve on? What are my commitments for this next week? What do I need to time block? What activities do I need to schedule for this next week? And the planner is set up to help you do that. And not only for your business, but if you have another person important in your life, maybe it's a spouse, a partner, somebody, a family, you can sit down together and plan your week. Everybody can bring their planner and get organized for the week. And that's the step number 4, the cadence of responsibility. And Erik, you mentioned you and Christy have a set time each week when you do that. I know Pat and I have a set time as well. And then I have a time when I do my own, just for what I need to get done. So
yeah, and I know a big thing for me is pretty much if I'm at my desk or when I'm working, I'll have this planner open. And so it's not just that we're doing this once a week. I mean, it's anytime you glance up and see the planner, you can know immediately kind of where you are on your Ninja 9 and take care of things as you need to.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That compelling scoreboard will really serve you well. So let's summarize this lesson. Number one, to achieve your goals, first of all, you have to have goals and focus on your wildly important goals. Number two, then, is to act on the lead measures that will drive the success of those goals. And what we believe your lead measures, your best lead measures, are your Ninja 9. Number three, have a compelling scoreboard. The scoreboard is keeping track not of your goals, it's keeping track of your lead measures. And so you want to be able to track those lead measures, because if you're doing those, the production, the goals will take care of themselves. And then finally, get into a rhythm or a cadence of responsibility where you have a weekly time set aside to review your scoreboard and to make any adjustments that you need to make, and away you go. So that's basically 4DX. That's basically the Ninja Planner, and these two documents are your formula for success. You can read the 4 disciplines of execution, or we've pretty much given a book report and summarized it. But what you need is that compelling scoreboard and that way to keep track of everything, and that's the beauty of the Ninja Planner. So with that, I think that's pretty much covers it. Erik, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to share some time and share this information with everyone. We really do appreciate feedback, and we love to hear how people are using the planner and how it's helping their business and their lives. So by all means, please reach out to us. You can see my email there. Email me, let me know how it's going. If you have ideas for improvements, by all means, please share those as well, and we really look forward to hearing from you. Great.
And Erik, I want to take a moment and just thank you for, number one, for being on this webinar, but more importantly, for creating something that is making such an impact in the Ninja Nation. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thank you for the opportunity.
You bet. With that, we'll call this lesson to a close. As we say in Ninja TSW, the system works. If you work the system, it'll work. The system will work for you. And this Ninja Planner is just one more part of that system. So with that, we'll say so long for this time. We want to wish everybody all the best on the Ninja path until we see each other again. Thanks.